We are here with the very power couple of the industry today in D2C. Indeed, they've done the most brilliant work, most remarkable work in terms of really showing and paving the path for how a D2C brand is really built. So Kaushik, Vineeta, thank you for joining us tonight. So we've got the entire industry here today, D2C industry, the retail industry, the quick commerce industry. So where it's the retail e-commerce itself has evolved so much. So thank you for making it all the more special by being here tonight. Let me start by asking you this, that today, when all investors, they're talking the language of profits, which never used to happen pre-COVID, not even in COVID.
You were supposed to leave the hard questions for the end.
No, let's start
It's a board meeting.
So, how do you really make that, D2C brands have to do their own journey. There is a burn, there is CAC, and there is so many other costs which are there. So, when the focus is towards building a profitable business, but particularly both of you, how are you doing it? How are you going brick by brick in terms of building sugar and making sure that you're able to get it right?
Thanks, Ritu, firstly for having us. Almost every year I come here. Generally, I get very warm looks. Today, I'm getting glares. I think we're coming in the way of the awards and the drinks. So I think we will try to keep... Please give me some smiles. She's already asking tough questions. Plus, you're all like, can you be faster so that we can get our award and start drinking? I love coming here because I think this is really the OG D2C awards event, and Ritu's been talking about brands since the time sugar started, and even earlier than that, which was 2015. I think 4 to 5 years before the industry invented the term D2C. I think in about 2020 when COVID hit and we started thinking about brands from India. And I was just at the Amazon office, and they were like, is there some Shark Tank audition happening here? Because since morning we're getting all messages from all the brands. Every brand is in town. What's going on? I said, yeah, it's like the OG event. So I'm pretty excited to be here. So for us, December was actually, after many years, our first profitable month, and then last quarter was our first profitable quarter. Wow. And FY25 will be our first profitable year. And the journey, there are like 2-3 top of the mind takeaways that come from that journey. And I think first is that, like our friend Amit here, who's disappeared again, Kaushik and I run marathons. And, there's this race, I just want to give a parallel to that, called Comrades Ultra Marathon, where it's an 89-kilometer run, and you have to complete it within 12 hours. But at every 10-kilometer odd mark, there's a cutoff. So if you don't do 10 in a certain time, 20 in a certain time, 50, 60, 70, you get pulled off the track, because they don't want like a ton of people reaching between like 12 and 16 hours and not getting a medal and feeling disappointed. So they keep, there's a sweeper bus that keeps picking up people on the way who don't make it. And I remember when we used to do that run, there was this race against time, just like entrepreneurs feel it, right? Like race against the runway. And I remember that feeling, you have like the next mark cutoff coming, and you're just really trying hard to make it. And one of the mistakes that we do in that race against time was get panic, and sometimes, run up a hill. It's like a hilly course where ideally you should walk up the hill or run slower up the hill, faster down the hill. But in that state of panic, just to make time, you do make stupid mistakes like running up a hill. And that could derail your entire race, because a marathon, just like a business, is really about pacing yourself, fueling yourself, knowing when it's the right time to really push the pedal and when it's important to slow down. And if you make that calculation wrong, I think things go worse. And I think in that journey of becoming profitable, I think a lot of us make that mistake of trying too much too soon. And I think that's the mistake that we also first did, cutting down partner margins, marketing. You try to obviously reduce the increments, all of those measures to start behaving like a sustainable, profitable business. But it's important to see what's right for your business and pace it accordingly. And I feel that there are a lot of companies that are now sitting at less than 12 months runway. And I think the honest definition of runway is actually to look at your net cash in bank apart from all the debt and divide by all your working capital, EBITDA losses and capex requirements. So genuine runway, not adding the debt wala runway. And if you are honest with yourself and it's less than 12 months, then you have to do some of these sudden moves. But if it's not, if you have 18 months or 24 months runway, then I think it's important to do it in a way that it doesn't do more harm than good. And I think with patience, just like businesses are built, I think profitability also comes with doing the right things by the business and not just suddenly stopping your marketing to get profitable.
Absolutely. And I think you say it's a bad question. I think it's a great question. It's already profitable.
But yes, we've been asked that question for a while now. And it is important. I think the inalienable truths are all businesses exist to make profit. And the entrepreneur's most important job is to stay afloat, to survive. So I think it is important. But the other thing that I've realized also is that, structural gross margin percentages and structural performance marketing percentages don't move too much over the years. You can talk about some of the influencer marketing spend and television spend and fixed costs, saying this is my operating leverage, that as I scale, it makes sense because, these costs as a percentage will go down. But what we realized is over a period of time, you can't change your fundamental gross margins and performance marketing costs. So ideally, if you're already at a performance marketing cost of 10 to 15% of revenue, good gross margin, 5 to 6% more than the publicly traded companies, then that's a great place to be. And finally, my last piece of advice is VCs change the tune they sing every 3 years. All investors, including angel investors, do that. Every 3 years, मौसम का रुख बदल जाता है and what matters changes. So make your own strategy based on what works for your category. Don't keep swinging between growth and profitability based on the tune that the investors are singing, because at the end of the day, there is no guarantee that the next round will come through, and basically the only people you really have having your back are your customers.
No, I think that's very well said. And eventually all businesses are there to profit, and that journey has to be done at some point of time. And it's so great that you've done it last year. So I know it's all greenfield for you from here on. Kaushik, given the fact that you've been growing in double digits as an organization and as a profitable organization at that, and already a precedent has been set by e-commerce companies and by D2C brand Mamaearth to go on the bourses. So is it on the charts for you also to go the IPO way in this year or maybe the next?
It's definitely a board meeting.
The narrative has been constant in that we definitely want to be a public company someday. I think the when part of it, we are getting better at deflecting those questions, because we used to think, okay, it's a race against time. There's this concept of market garam hai. You have to list now. And till about a few years back, we didn't have any examples. Now we have such brilliant examples and we are learning every day. So one funny thing is when you catch, I caught one of the founders, in a lighter mood and said, so how is life as a public company? And they're like, yaar Kaushik, शादी का लड्डू पता है? I was like, what is ठीक है, पता है क्या है? Like, देखो जो खाए वो पचता है, जो ना खाए वो भी पचता है.
Thanks, Kaushik.
I was like, okay, explain. He said, see, I think as companies, it's a rite of passage. You have to get there to be once you've raised funds, you've scaled, you have investors who you have to give an exit to. So you either sell your brand to a larger company, or you plan the public route if you want to build it for the next couple of decades. Now, I don't think anybody in our cohort, the young D2C companies, were ready for the amount of intense scrutiny that happens once you go public. Many advantages. You start being compared to behemoths, debt becomes cheaper, talent is more willing to join you. So massive, multiple examples. advantages. The tricky part there is that, what is the one thing that you need to master to go public? And I had actually asked him the question, and it said predictability. I was like, wow. Startup dunya mein, you've said predictability, which is like exactly the antithesis of it. He said, yeah, see, once you're a public company, then you look at all the results, there are many metrics that are shared, but usually there are just two metrics that are talked about in the headlines, the PAT and the operating revenues. So you don't need to be very aggressive, but whatever guidance you give to the market, you need to be able to play around in that range. How do you do that? You do that when you have built enough levers driving your revenue so that you can monitor them on a real-time basis and see, okay, if this is going slow, then I can tweak this part up. If this is going fast, I can bring this down. And that is a math of a different level. And the more we look at these companies, it's such great learning for us and so many of the others who are building that, okay, this is how you need to be. I know for a while we were like, Acha, we need to be profitable. And the day we went to our board and said, hey, we are profitable, one of my board members actually said, okay, now be predictable profitable. and so everybody's, I think it's a rite of passage. And see, about a decade back, people didn't know if brands could be built in India without television. And when there were brands that were initially getting traction, there were a lot of people who said, look, this won't last. And there are like dozens of companies who have crossed the 100 crore mark to prove that we can build brands. Now the questions change. The question is, okay, but is this real? And I think it's a very fair question, wherein now we start acting like a mature company. And, just like after 10th, somebody says bus 12th. And after 12th, somebody says bus engineering. So once you become profitable, people ask, okay, are you predictable profitable? And once you become predictable profitable, they'll ask market share kitna hai? So it's a rite of passage. But to your question, we will be a public company someday. I think we are very, very clear about that. I don't think we are rushed right now. There's just a lot of work to do, and we want to be in front of the market at our bulletproof best, and there's still some way to go before that.
Absolutely. Well, since IPO is still a little way off from what you've told me, is growing international on the charts for both for sugar at some point?
Okay, I'll take this because I've looked at that. See, for us, the why is very important. We've looked at international markets very, very closely. And in fact, we have some business in the Middle East, some in Russia. And every time we get inbound interest or we meet someone or we explore other markets, the brand business, you can be a distributor and you can pass on your brand with some margins to somebody who's obviously has to run a P&L. So they will not invest in building the brand in a foreign market, and it's expensive to build a brand in a foreign market. So we've always said, look, there's a lot to win and build in India. India's, if not the fastest growing market in the world, it's one of the fastest growing beauty markets in the world. All the actions happening over here. So we don't want to move our eye off the ball. This is where the action is. Next 10 years, there's a lot to build over here. And the day we build a very strong, profitable P&L, there'll be enough bottom line to invest in building a brand. Because we don't want to trade in international markets. We want to build a brand in international markets. Today, if you ask me 2040, do you see sugar in the US, Europe? 100% we see over there. But we're not rushed about it.
Yeah, but we're seeing a lot of other brands moving, D2C brands moving, like for example, ELF, they're almost there in India right now. So we've seen a movement for even, and that's a young brand even in the US. So they're moving. So, what is stopping anybody to go to another market and make the most of it?
I think people are gravitating to where the growth is. There were brands who had very, very strong apprehensions about the Indian market, about whether they would sell online. They're all listed and selling in India right now. So India is where the world's beauty brands want to be right now. Correct. And Nykaa has done such a fabulous job of proving to the market that you can scale a brand over there. The reverse, and so when the party is happening in India, it's not very intuitive for us to say, okay, abhi main party chhod ke ja raha hu, I want to build it outside. You'll do that if you're not able to build a business in India, but why? it's
Yeah, and the why is the right question because we spent a lot of time getting the product right for the Indian weather conditions and skin tones. Every market that we go to, we need to create that why for that market before just investing in it heavily.
I think there's so many Indians outside India also that you
उनको हम नहीं छोड़ेंगे. Don't worry, उनको हम नहीं छोड़ेंगे.
Okay, so very quickly we'll go on to your omni-channel journey. So we've had great amount of discussions on it today. That for a D2C brand, the why of omni-channel is very important. Why did you do stores in the first place?
So we've been very strong believers of omni-channel. When we were doing 200 crore net revenue, 50% of our business was offline. When we were doing 500 crore net revenue, also 50% of our business was offline. Both have grown together in the journey. And when we started Sugar in 2015, in those early years, it was hard to go beyond 100 crore online. Now, of course, you see brands talking about 500 crore ARR online, and the market has, after 2020, really exploded. But because we started on that journey before that tipping point really came around, we knew omni-channel will be a really important part of our journey, especially because the same consumer education that we were doing on social media, we were able to replicate that in stores. And the trials would happen in our stores, and then eventually replenishment would happen on e-commerce. And that model for us has been working beautifully. Having said that, I know a lot of brands feel that omni-channel is stores khulna. And I think, some brands like Lenskart, Go Colors make it look very easy. But I think that's not the only way. In India, there is a 70% consumption actually happens in general trade, another 10-15% happens in the likes of DMart, Reliance. And especially for brands which sit at a sub 200 rupee price point, the food brands, a lot of, healthy snacking companies, a lot of, more affordable cosmetics brands. I think general trade is a great option. It's a super profitable business for us as well. So I think the why of omni-channel is very important, because if you get the channel right, which means, and general trade is a channel where you can't go too early. You can't. You can start your own store any day and hope that because there's more traffic, people will find you. But you can't get into general trade because you get terrible terms at that sub 100, 200 crore net revenue. But once you have awareness that is built over a period of time, and people outside of the hardcore social media users and e-commerce shoppers are aware of you, I think general trade scales really fast in India. You can build it profitably, and I think it has phenomenal operating leverage. By that, what I mean is you don't have to keep paying CAC. Once you break even at a city level, distributor level, store level, then beyond that, you're going to keep making more contribution margin from that city, distributor, store. Unlike online, where you're fighting against an algorithm, which will always beat you because the algorithm will figure out a way to keep increasing your CAC. But here, there is no CAC. I mean, there is in the initial days, but once you break even, then you have a lot more operating leverage. I think in India, even Gen Z and then Gen Alpha consumers will be pure online consumers. They will always have that feeling of going into stores, because in India, because of our weather conditions, you don't have too many entertainment options on weekends. So family entertainment happens in malls, it happens on the high street, which is why I feel that for most brands that really want to build 500,000, 2,000, 3,000 crore businesses in India, omni-channel is the future. But yes, going into it too soon can hurt your finances, but if you go at the right time, it's great.
Sure. I think that's a brilliant strategy. So guys, general trade, don't leave it before you get into exclusive stores as well. So okay, we'll come to Shark Tank. So because everybody loves to talk about you as a shark, and
there are lots of Shark Tank companies also here.
So, now you've done 3 seasons, I think, for Shark Tank. And do you see that there, particularly in the D2C space, there is too much of similar kind of brands who are coming, and differentiation is probably not as much as it should be. Now, when you think of this entire thing 5 years from now, we'll probably have companies almost, carbon copies of each other. So what's your advice to companies who are building companies, even in, let's say, the beauty space, or let's say in, food space? So how can the differentiation come in or set in?
So Ritu, I remember a couple of years back here, we were speaking about this, and I remember telling you that aap agar Amazon pe jaake search karo vitamin C serum, you literally have 4,000 search results. You go to page number 40, and there will be a exact same, those apothecary looking, glass bottles with a dropper, with a nice label on the 40th page. And today that number of search results is probably 8,000. right? There are 8,000 search results for vitamin C and they all look the same, probably similar manufacturers. And I don't think the effort that's going into putting that bottle up, its picture up and selling it from a warehouse is what I call brand building. There is a glut, but I don't think that there is a lack of opportunity for brands in India. So I think it's important to recognize that India is a very vibrant ecosystem for brands, because suddenly you have from 150 million internet users about 10 years ago, you have 850 million internet users. On Instagram now we have 400 million users, which is incredible because Instagram is so great for building brand storytelling. 19,000 pin codes can be serviced from just an Amazon ID sitting in one warehouse. I think that is and obviously our GDP has doubled, we're looking at the 5 trillion coming up soon. I think that opportunity in the next 10 years is unlike any other country, and there will be a lot of brands built, but not by just creating a Me Too product and just listing it. I think somebody needs to go out there and put it. The power of India is the diversity. And I feel that if there are brands that stay away from angel or VC funding, because that's very important, and take some of these routes, I think there'll be at least 100 crore plus luxury brands that can come out of India in the next 20, 30 years because of the kind of luxury shopping that we're seeing. I think there can be at least 100 brands which are made in India but for the world, pure export oriented, but they'll never get VC capital because VCs are betting on the India story. So that's not a VC fundable business, but there's an opportunity. I think there'll be more than 100 brands that cater to niches, niches like men interested in accessories or LGBTQI or, specific communities. And so there is a lot of opportunity because consumption in India and aspiration is just going to take off over the next 20, 30 years. But a lot of these businesses will do self-harm by raising capital, because when you raise capital, you have to play in a 1,000 crore revenue potential market. You can't play in a 100 crore revenue potential market, but you can build a fantastic brand at a 100 crore revenue, which is profitable, by really putting in the effort to create something that works for the consumer. So I think that the glut is really around all the investing that including people like us are doing in D2C brands, because that is resulting in a lot of, investing in just purely CAC on Google and Meta. And that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't help the ecosystem, because what's happening now is that there are companies sitting at less than 100 crore revenue with minus 40% contribution margin free, which is your post ads before fixed costs. That's, I don't think that's brand building. So I think that, it's important to get the why right, because there's a lot of opportunity using Instagram, YouTube, e-commerce to build authentic brands for specific consumer needs. But your why should be very real to you, and it should not be the opportunistic bet that can get an investment.
So, towards the, she deserves an applause to actually say it out loud, because I don't see anybody going out and pointing this out to the market very often. So, is your journey now going towards the house of brands? I see that you've launched a new brand with Kareena Kapoor, and is it something on the cards for you to build?
This house of brands is a very used and abused word, so we've stopped referring to it. There was a time when you just needed those 3 words on a pitch deck and a VC would come and fund you. Okay, house of brands, great. But it's hard, as we realize now, because you can have a house of products, but brand building. See, India for every product, there's another alternative. There is nothing that is very, very unique. So it can't be only price. It has to be some functionality, some brand love, and love takes time. So yes, we did launch Quench skincare, but our experience was very different from building a makeup brand. Makeup was a lot about inclusivity, Sugar is about inclusivity. So the number of shades per range had to be more than what was available in the market. And we very quickly ended up with 500 different SKUs. Now, when we apply that model to skincare, we were totally wrong initially because skincare is very, very concentrated because it's regime based. Once you like something, trust something. Secondly, you can't seduce somebody into buying skincare. Makeup, maybe you could still delight somebody into buying makeup. Skincare is by recommendation or by pure efficacy and claim. So we took some time to build our DNA, but we've gotten a team that's been able to give that quarter on quarter 40-50% growth. Early stages, but we are very excited because not because Quench is growing fast, because we are learning. Because if you look at beauty, our industry, for a long while we were just in makeup, and now we are learning skincare. There's bath and body, there's fragrance, there's hair care, there's accessories. There's like a whole big world out there. So I know a lot of investors reach out to us and say, let's pump in X million dollars in your company, acquire these other 4-5 brands. Nobody's going to fund them. What do I do with them? I mean, we don't know how to run those companies. We don't know. So I think, like Vineeta mentioned, fundraising and investor, the whole house of brands, which raked in a lot of funding. It's a ticking time bomb. If you know that you're going to make mistakes in your path of learning, yes, eventually by 2030, 35, we will end up having maybe 4, 5, 6 brands within the parent company. No doubt about that. Our preference is to build as much as we can. And yes, eventually if there's a great brands, great people behind the brands, let me correct myself, great people behind the brands, it'll be fun to work with them.
And kudos to your journey, and hopefully that we see that you'll be able to build this. So any final words from your side? Vineeta, more number of startups coming to you and meeting you at Shark Tank and otherwise also as an investor. Are you sort of looking at more investments in times to come, both of you, in terms of, looking at investing in small startups, D2C brands?
A lot of people meet us with a lot of expectations, but we do a bulk of our investing through Shark Tank, primarily because हमारे पास ना इतना पैसा है ना इतना time है. And if you even try to spend an hour or two with a company, because they're such interesting businesses and there's so much problem solving in a quarter, there's just so much you can do. So I think not doing a lot of it outside of Shark Tank, and hopefully Shark Tank season 4 will come and a lot of people here will come over there as well. But I think I just want to remind everybody here that it's like for years before this whole wave of D2C funding came in 2020, brands and companies have been built without VC capital. And, our experience in this journey, and Sugar is actually next year going to complete 10 years, and is that good things take time, love and patience, especially good brands. So think long term, think decades, because India is a great story to be in. Don't run out of money, and just do right by your consumer, and don't be in a rush. Funding mile na mile, consumers always going to have your back if you create something great for them.
You've got a good product, yeah, absolutely. Any final words from you, Kaushik?
No, I just want to take a minute to thank the organizers and you especially. I have been to this event once earlier. It's mad. It's insane. The number of, from the minute I stepped in, the number of faces, like I haven't met them in ages. It's just amazing how this event is like a magnet for everybody who wants to learn and just catch up. It's a very warm and friendly event. So thank you for that.
No, thank you so much. And I think it's only become the OG event, as you said. It's only because, you've always supported us and come to us and talked to D2C brands. There's just so much entrepreneurial journey which is taking off in India. And I think thanks to you coming and sharing about yours and encouraging them that this is possible. So thank you very much indeed for joining us here tonight.